Those who live in this place call the valley the end of humanity's expansion across the globe. I was standing in a valley in Chile, a valley crowned by glacier-carved peaks and carpeted with wildflowers and tall grass. I was standing there and I found myself entranced by this beautiful place. And I found myself envious of the 52 people who call this valley home. At the end of humanity's expansion across the globe, there are 52 people who live and whose lives revolve around sheep. In the spring, they shear the wool and sell it, and in the fall, they slaughter the males and sell the meat, or save it for food. And this is their sole livelihood. This is the sole way in which they make their living. Their life truly revolves around the sheep. So, why am I in the valley? I'm in the valley to study the glaciers. I'm kind of a scientist, almost there. What do I want to do with my life? I want to be a scientist. So I'm there asking, why did the glaciers change? I'm kind of standing there thinking, this place is changing. Like many glaciers across the globe, the Colonia Glacier, the glacier I'm studying, is retreating rapidly, retreating very rapidly. So rapidly, we don't even know how rapidly, which is why I was there. As the Colonia shrinks, it forms cavities. There are cavities that form in front of the glacier and all the glaciers that feed into it. And over the past 70 years, it's shrunk so much that it allows lakes to form in these cavities. This wasn't particularly problematic for the past 60, 70, 80 years until 2008. In 2008, the first of two major floods hit the valley. Over the course of 24 hours, 52 billion gallons of water were released from underneath the glacier. It had lost enough mass to allow this water to flood out. 52 billion gallons of water. That's 1 billion gallons for every person living in the valley. That's 4 times the amount of water that Los Angeles used in December. Besides the problematic idea of 52 billion gallons of water racing down a valley over 24 hours, putting the 52 people's lives in danger, the 52 billion gallons drowns the sheep. Drowns the sheep. Can you imagine 52 billion gallons of water coming, inundating your home, killing everything that you know, leaving you destitute? We can't. I'm there to ask scientific questions, though, right? I'm there to ask, why is this happening in a scientific way? But the longer I stay, the question transitions from, why is this happening, to, why is this happening here? Why is this happening in a community so wholly reliant on the land that they live on? Why is this happening to 52 people who raise sheep, who live a sustainable life? It's not sustainable to them, it's just life. And I'm standing in a valley in Chile. It's my last day at the end of humanity's expansion across the globe. And as is customary for visitors to the valley, they send me off with a sheep slaughter. So I'm standing there. They've slaughtered the sheep, drained the blood, pulling out the entrails. The organs are kind of scattered across the yard. And I'm thinking about this gruesome scene. This is gruesome to me because I don't slaughter sheep on the reg. And it hits me. It hits me what's happening. I realize that I've been killing their sheep all along. It's important that I'm there watching this because I slaughtered that sheep and I slaughter every sheep. It's because of me. It's because I fly home to to Montana 3 times a year. It's because I buy goods online and have free 2-day shipping. It's because I drive to taco trucks on a Friday night instead of walk. It's because I live in a community that is wholly divorced from the impact of its actions. It's because I live in a community that does not care, that does not have empathy, that cannot love these 52 people in the valley in Chile. But it's not just because of me, the Occidental College student, the student polluter. It's because of me, the scientist, too. I engage in a type of science that's inherently unsustainable, fieldwork science. Before I go anywhere, I pack up, I pack my things, I pack my gear, I have food and water for 2 weeks, I have Cliff Bars and Gatorade, and I fly it there. They don't have Gatorade at the end of humanity's expansion across the globe. I need my Gatorade. So I'm bringing it there, and I do my work, and then I leave. And I do this again. I go to Chile, and I leave. I go to Alaska, and I leave. I go to British Columbia, I leave. And along the way, if I'm a good scientist, I've somehow employed the local people. But if I'm a typical scientist, I don't speak their language. This is problematic. It's problematic and unsustainable in the obvious ways, but it's problematic and unsustainable because in flying to these areas, taking their data and leaving, I'm robbing them of a voice. I'm saying, your voice doesn't matter. Scientists rarely go back to the places that they work in and have a community meeting. We don't share our results with them. We don't talk about the implications of our work. Climate scientists are particularly problematic in this respect. We go to these places, I take the glacier data, and in the hopes of stemming and moving away from a world where sea levels are rising, in the hopes that I can predict what's happening in Amsterdam, Boston, Miami, I take this data because I think I'm going to change the world. But in reality, what I'm saying is that the lives of Americans 100 years from now are more important than the 52 people in the valley in Chile at the end of humanity's expansion across the world. We can't continue this cycle. We cannot continue to do fieldwork and leave. So how do we change? First, it involves admitting that there's a problem, which is particularly difficult for scientists sometimes. Second, we engage the local community. Wherever we're going, we engage them. My fieldwork isn't difficult. I dig a snow pit, I take samples, I melt the samples, and I send them to a lab. It's not hard. But it is meaningful. And to say to a 17-year-old student, a 21-year-old college student, a 6-year-old elementary student, to say to them, I want you to help me. I want you to be a scientist. I want you to think like a scientist. I want you to think critically. That's meaningful. That's empowering. So how do we change this? We ask for participation. We tell the communities that we're working in that they matter. Science is empowering. Science can be empowering. This is the science that I hope to engage in the future. I hope that these people in the valley in Chile feel empowered by my science because I want to engage them. When I was in Chile, I thought about this a lot. And we're working on piloting a program to incorporate students in our work. Because I realized that I was falling in this same pattern. I was telling them that they don't matter. But this idea of empowering at a citizen level, this is transcendent. This does not just apply to a rural valley in Chile. This applies everywhere. And again, it starts with scientists. Scientists need to be as versed in communication skills as they are in data analysis skills. Scientists need to share their information. Scientists need to work with community members. Scientists need to descend from their ivory research cubicle and say, we are one of you. We are a part of your community. It's a two-way street. Citizen science, we've probably all heard of this. Non-scientists need to consider the implications of science in their life. They need to take science classes. You need to take a lab science. Everyone needs to take a lab science. You need to ask questions about science. You need to ask questions about scientists. You need to think critically about the information that you're being given as a non-scientist, beyond the splashy headlines, beyond the mega studies that talk about 100 feet of sea level rise. This is the future of science, an egalitarian science, an equalizing science, an accessible science, an inclusive science. This is the future that I hope to engage in as a researcher, and a future that I challenge my peers and my colleagues to consider. This talk could be billed as sustainable science. It's the idea that we came up with when tying everything into sustainability, but it's not just sustainable science. This is just responsible science. This is an empowering science. We cannot afford to wait. There are 52 people in a valley in Chile, the end of humanity's expansion across the world. They're already feeling the results. Their sheep are feeling the results. Thank you.